Ashla Hill Roseboro. I have been researching my family genealogy and women's studies for a number of years now, but specifically genealogy, my own autoethnographic research for a couple of decades now. And I want to bring you in to share with you and begin a series featuring some specific family members of mine who are everyday people, just like you and I, with some remarkable stories that I hope that you too will enjoy just as much as I do. I am going to begin and launch this series with my great grandmother, Mrs. Bettie Louise Johnson Hill. Grandma Bettie was born in 1898 and she lived until 1950. What I really want to talk about, because this summer I had an opportunity to travel to New York City for the first time. And the first thing I thought about before we left, my family and I, was my grandmother, whose Bible I have. And I am going to share some of that with you today. So I was fortunate, and I'll share the story. I'm really good at being a storyteller. I am a communication scholar with a technical and scientific communication background, as well as journalism. So I'm pretty good at writing and research. So I want to share with you, this is somewhat of an autoethnography, a study, in-depth cultural study of myself and my own family, and I'm going to bring you along on this journey. Begin by meeting Grandma Bettie. This is her. Okay, this was probably around the time when she was working in New York City on Fifth Avenue. How do I know that? Because I have her Bible. Okay, and I'm going to show you. This is the Holy Bible. And if you see there, you see New York Bible Society. Now, this is a bound Bible. It's kind of had some years of wear and tear, but it's still overall intact. I think it's so great that, as you can see here, Grandma Bettie wrote her name in this Bible, and she put Mrs. Bettie Hill. And this is the address where she was living, which I also believe this is where Grandma Bettie worked, 2188 Fifth Avenue, New York City. So she was in Manhattan, okay? So that's the city, and that's how I know that. And then I found some other really kind of some interesting things in the Bible also. Where is it? Without showing you everything here. There was an interesting card that I did find in the Bible. I'll put it in. Here it is. There it is. Okay, so Associated Post, you can see that. And you see New York City. Okay, Rosedale, Laurelton Post. So this was an American Legion event, 1938, September 16th. And you see the donation. So this ticket was paid for, and Grandma Bettie happened to put Winnie Johnson on the back, or someone wrote it on the back. Now, this is Winnie Johnson right here, her sister. Okay, I put them right here together. We also called her Aunt Zine. That's my great aunt, my Grandma Bettie's sister, her baby sister. And this is Grandma Betty's, another one of her sisters. Same sister here, Aunt Anna. Okay, so you're probably wondering, well, Grandma Betty, how did she end up in New York? What was happening? What's the story behind her children and that type of thing? Well, Grandma Betty married. Her marriage did not, at some point they got separated, and so she moved to New York. And while she was there, her baby sister, who this is also Aunt Zine or Aunt Winnie here. Okay, you see that beautiful dress that she's wearing? This is also Aunt Winnie here. And this is Grandma Betty's Aunt Winnie or Aunt Zine, Aunt Anna, and Aunt Mary Frances. It was 4 sisters, okay? This is their mother. That is my great-great-grandmother, Amanda. And you see her there with guineas. They were farmers. Grandma Mandy was also the midwife for the entire county. So that was kind of significant. She delivered all the babies, the black and white babies, okay? So there's a story there, but they were hard workers. That's Aunt Winnie and Aunt Anna, I believe. Some of these have names on the back. These were postcards, okay? So that probably speaks a little bit to their financial positioning. They did own land, and they also, by my great grandmother Amanda being the midwife for the county here, you can see her husband passed when her children were young, so she pretty much was a single mom. She was married, but she was a widow, and so she raised her daughters, and they took care of each other, which is really the story of family for so long. This is my great uncle. Okay, my great uncle Willie, or William Hill. He's the one who passed down this Bible to me, which I am so thankful and grateful. It's priceless. He passed down the Bible to me. This is my grandmother, okay? It was my grandfather. I'll share a picture of him. This is my Aunt Zelma, and this is Uncle Willie. So this is him here as a little boy, and his sister, Aunt Zelma. That's Aunt Zelma as an adult. Pretty nice looking woman. And my grandmother there, who's still living. My grandma's still living. She's 95. So just to kind of share a little bit about who everyone is. Back to Grandma Betty. So she married, she had 4 children, and at the point of them separating, her husband, William Henry Hill Sr. and her, they separated, were still married. He remained in Richmond, where my grandfather was born in Richmond, and then she went up to New York City, 1930s. So when we think about the 1930s, that was the Great Depression. There was a lot going on in the United States, and just to kind of situate where my grandmother was at that time. And so when she went up to New York City during the school year, her children remained with her sisters, and her mother, mainly her mother, was what I believe or remember to be, she was more so like a mother from the stories that my great uncle shared with me. My Grandma Mandy was like the mother figure to them. And my grandfather, William Henry Hill Sr., he stayed in Richmond. 1930s was a time where it was the Great Depression, so there were economic strains. It also was around the time of Prohibition, and Prohibition was when alcohol became illegal. So Grandma Betty is up in the Harlem. She's on 5th Avenue working. She can go down the street, use public transportation to probably get to Harlem. So, you know, this this fall special entertainment and dance event that she appears to probably have gone to and saved a ticket for her sister, who appears she wasn't able to attend. She was able to be a part of the ending of the Harlem Renaissance, the literary revival, where African Americans were learning how to read. They were becoming literate. Culture, celebration of the arts and music and poetry and dance. And so it had to be a great time to be in New York. It also, it's like cognitive dissonance. I'm sure that my great grandmother, so often, it strained her and tugged at her heart, because I'm a mom as well, having to leave behind her 4 children. They were small. My grandfather was born in 1921. So if she was in New York in 1938 and around the 1930s, he at that time would have been 17. And so I believe that she was there when he was well younger than that. So I believe it was the late 20s and through the 1930s. So then on the other front, what really brought about me starting this series is we had to go to New York. My husband had some business there this summer, and it was really exciting for me to be able to document, for one, to share it with my boys. My sons are 5 and 3, and I want them to be able to have something, memories of this trip, while at the same time paying homage to my great grandmother and my ancestors who came before me, in recognition that I am who I am today because of them. So I'm really, really excited to be able to share this story with those of you who tune in. And so you'll get to see the city. You'll also get to see and meet my family and my ancestors, these individuals whose shoulders I stand on. And at the same time, I hope that I do believe that I make them proud, that all that they sacrificed and went through, migrations and relocations to provide and to make a better life for my mother, my father, my grandparents. I'm just really excited. So here we are, New York City, Wall Street, the Wall Street district. We were there. Look at all of the buildings and the stores. You just saw Gucci. You know, New York is a high dollar city. So Grandma Bettie, I'm sure she moved there to earn a higher living or wage. Even though Richmond is known for Maggie Lena Walker, someone who we're so proud of, a native Virginian who was the first woman and first African-American woman bank owner in the United States. And you see Apple there. There still were so many limitations of women especially being able to work and earn a livable wage in the South in the early 1900s. So New York, higher cost of living, but as a living cook and a professional cook, it was my understanding Grandma Bettie worked for a well-to-do family, a white family in New York. And on Fifth Avenue, of course, that was more than likely prime real estate. The city has changed significantly in 100 years or in a century. So the address where Grandma Bettie was is going to be slightly different than where it would be today. So it might be considered part of Harlem today, but at that time, it was more than likely part of the city, and especially because it's Fifth Avenue. So you see, New York, what it represents, the land of opportunity, immigration, If you work hard, you can make it. And Grandma Betty and my family have always believed in the American dream. We are patriots. We believe that if you work hard, you can make it. You can have whatever you want to have. It does come at a sacrifice, though. And so Grandma Betty, she paid a price. And her children, they all turned out well. And I do believe that a large part of that is because she could offer them